What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crafter Hours. I'm David Wilson, and we're back with another live stream where we work on some kind of project, try to have fun writing some code in the span of about 2.5 hours. And this stream is no exception. This week, we are focused primarily on the Spring Lisp Game Jam 2025. If you don't know about that, I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. It's a 10-day game jam that started on Friday, where a bunch of Lisp enthusiasts get together and try to write games in the span of a week, actually 10 days. It's a lot of fun. I've participated in it a few times, and we're doing it again this time by writing a web-based MUD, or multi-user dungeon, which is basically a text-based role-playing game that you can play with other people. We don't have very many streams to work on this, or very much time, so we're going to see how far we can get, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. We've made some progress so far, and today I'm hoping we'll make a bit more progress on the actual game logic so that you can start walking around in the game world and potentially interacting with some game world objects. Hopefully the audio and video is not too out of sync. I can kind of see my mouth in the audio a little out of sync on the stream, so sorry for that if this is the case. Let me see if I can jog some settings here. Yeah, that didn't seem to help, actually made it worse. Test. Who knows? At any rate, we're back to it today. Thanks, Big Edie. Hello, Big Edie. Big Edie says, not particularly noticeable to me. That's good. So anyway, that's the scope of what we're doing today. We're just trying to get the game engine working. So what we've done so far, let me see if I can run it, and hopefully it won't be a complete disaster. Let me just get back to the main project folder. Here we go, or run it. I checked in some code over the weekend. I might have broken it. Yeah, I think I broke it. Anyway, okay, so I'll show you what we did after I fixed the bug. But basically, we've got a website up where you can go to the website, and then you can start typing in stuff in the text box, and it will repeat it back to you, which is not very interesting. But the actual interesting part is that on the server, all of the user commands and all of the actual stuff in the game world will be running with Sprightly Goblins, which is a kind of a distributed programming framework, but really at its core, it's like an actor model framework where you have independent little actors that you communicate through message passing, and you can do things asynchronously or synchronously. It's just a different model. We're not really using it to its full potential, but we're using it anyway just to sort of learn a bit more about the general pattern for writing applications using goblins. I'm kind of interested in trying to use it for other things in the future too, because I think there's some definite utility here. But at least for now, we've got a basic game engine set up with that. We'll kind of go through the code a bit whenever I get it working again. Trying to keep it simple. I don't really think we're going to have like user accounts or anything. You go to the web page and you immediately create a new character just for the purpose of that session. And if you reload the page, you get a new character. So it's going to be more like a NetHack kind of situation where you have one life, and if you die, it's game over. I don't know. Like, I haven't really figured out the actual game mechanics yet because we spent more time on the technical details. The other side of this being that the web interface uses something called Datastar, which is a kind of a hypermedia framework, if that tells you anything. No, actually, it's just a way to generate HTML fragments on the server side and have them be wired up to the Datastar library on the client, so you don't have to actually write any JavaScript, which is pretty nice. So everything is being sent from the server with special kinds of requests, and that is causing all the live behavior on the game page. All this stuff is really happening using polling. Ideally, it would not use polling. It would use a persistent connection, but Guile's web framework design doesn't really allow for that right now. So we're just dealing with what we can do to get something going, and then later we'll improve it if we decide that it's a game worth keeping and playing long term. So anyway, first of all, what did I do this weekend? So off stream, I was trying to figure out the issues with session management, because I had some weird things going on, and I think what it ultimately boiled down to was how I was establishing sessions when a user goes to the page. And if you go to the page, it automatically creates a new session in the game for you. But if you stay on the page and then I restart the server, then it started doing some weird stuff because it assumes that it's still in the same session, and then it kept like causing the server to create new sessions every time it polled for events. So I spent some time this weekend trying to solve that issue. And I made some progress, but apparently I broke something else before I checked it in yesterday. So let me just take a quick look at what I'm doing here. So we created a new session. And I'm doing it in goblins. Wrong number of arguments. Okay, so I'm calling something with the wrong number of arguments. It's happening in the engine code on line 40 something. So let's go to engine. So probably here somewhere, send message sync with vat engine vat. So we're calling send message sync somewhere. It appears we're calling send message sync on a session object. So the new thing that I added here, which wasn't here when we did this on Friday, is a new session module. And this is where we are managing the individual sessions whenever a user connects to the page. So I created a record type to kind of encapsulate the storage of the actor and the session ID so that I don't need to actually ask the actor for the session ID. I can just get it off the record type just to make things a little bit more efficient. Added a procedure to spawn the session manager whenever everything starts up. Making sessions just falls into make session of the session manager actor, which is called sessions. So we generate a random session ID, and then we create the record type to hold the actor which we spawn and the session ID. Now let me make sure I'm putting that in the right order. Is that what I'm doing wrong? Yes. Okay, so I immediately figured out that where was it? Make session, session ID. Oh, no, it's right. Okay, session ID is first, and then the actor is next. Okay, fine. Then we add it to the active sessions, blah, blah, blah. I'm not actually dealing with any session expiration yet, but we will have to deal with that at some point. Probably some kind of background timer to make sure that someone is actually, using their session. So we'll have to take a look at that. What else? So that's it for session. So what we're seeing here is that I'm trying to send a message synchronously to session, but it's not the right number of parameters. Which messages are we dealing with? Push event, get events. So handle command and push event both accept a parameter. What are we looking at here? No arguments. So let me look for all instances of send message sync to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Session actor session. Oh. Hey, Cal. Cal says, I'll use you as motivation to work on my thing. We should. Is that the only place right here? Send message sync. Okay, so problem is, I'm not saying what message I'm trying to send. I think that's kind of a problem, right? Get events. I'm pretty sure that's the message I'm looking for. Let's see. Get events. Yeah, okay. So I was rewriting this code, and I think I screwed it up. That explains a lot. So let's go back to compilation buffer, restart the program. And it seems happy this time, but we're still creating new sessions for no reason. So something needs to change here. I'm also creating multiple sessions for each poll. All right, so there's another thing I realized. With the way I was using Datastar, there was, let me make sure. Oh wait, session ID false? That can't be right. The way that I was using Datastar, if you go to views, I was using an data on interval, which causes an expression in Datastar to be evaluated on an interval. In this case, it's 1 second, every 1 second by default. I was not controlling the number of retries. So apparently in Datastar, by default, it will try to retry a failed request 10 times. So what does that mean for us? It means that if I turn the server off while the page is still up and it keeps trying to make requests every second, then for every one of those requests, it's going to try to retry that 10 times. So once I get the server back up again, it's going to blast the server with a bunch of requests, which means it's going to create a whole bunch of sessions at the same time. And that's why you saw all the session spam, creation spam in the log. It's because all those retries are now being attempted. So I had to turn that off, and hopefully now it will be better, at least from that perspective. But we'll see. There's a couple more things we got to get straightened up before we can get to the actual game logic. All right. Whew, man, it's gotten hot here, and I don't have the air conditioner on. Maybe I should solve that problem, because gonna start driving me nuts. And this is the moment where I can't find the controller to the air conditioner. I guess we're just gonna sweat it today. All right, so I set the retry max count to 0 in the options of the get request here so that it doesn't try to retry a bunch of times. At least I hope it doesn't. The reason why I was still doing it because I had not reloaded this page yet. So it did not pick up the change that option. So now it shouldn't be retrying. Also, I added this dot leading so that it would immediately make the request to the server on the as soon as the page loads up to get the events, which may not be necessary entirely, but it's better just to go ahead and get that started, I think. So now, let's see. It told me that I have no session. Let me just restart the entire thing because something weird is going on here. In fact, it didn't even keep... Like, I don't see any more events requests, which seems wrong. Like, why is it not continuing to make requests? Do I need to turn this to 1 so that it actually tries to make the request at all? That would be pretty weird, wouldn't it? Oops. Yeah, it's not making any more requests. Why is the timer not working? Let me take this leading thing off. I don't know if that's causing any issue. Also, let me connect to the REPL so I can just reeval this and not have to keep fooling around. All right, so I reevaled that. There we go. And now it's the same session every time. So if I type in foo, it says enter command foo. There we go. All right, so maybe it needs to be a little bit faster than every 1 second, but I don't want to like pummel the server if there's like 10 people playing, but maybe it's fine. So let's see. That's better. Let me kill the server. And then start it back up again and see what it does. Because what I want to see is if it recreates a session and then resumes. Nope, it keeps creating. Okay, it actually did finally land on a single session and then it kept going. So that actually is what I intended for it to do. It created a random bogus session for no reason. That's kind of weird, but at least it kind of went on with the correct one. So that's good enough for now. Good enough at least to not feel like I'm creating a huge mess. So let's just clean up this code a little bit. Another thing I'm doing is that I'm not actually trying to pre-populate the session ID inside of the body. I changed it so that inside of the handler for the event call, I check to see if a session has been assigned yet to this this user. And the way we know that is well, this is a little bit troublesome. Anyway, when the server comes up, it has no sessions, right? Because you just started it. If the browser says, if the client says, I have a session, here's my session ID from the previous time that the server was running, which this is only a problem for me really in development. It's not a problem in theory in reality, but let's just discuss it anyway. Then the session ID won't have an associated session, so it will return false when I ask for that session. So then the session associated with the context of the request will be false, which means this code right here will create a new session and then send a signal back to the client to update the session ID, regardless of whether it's a new session for the client or not, so that it should just replace that ID and continue forward. So that's kind of a way for me to handle everything in one place without it getting out of sync or just like spamming the creation of new sessions for no reason. All right, so now that we got that going and we see what the session ID is, I might just go back and take that that line out of the server. Where is that coming from? Session ID right there. If I reeval that, is it going to make it go away? Possibly unbound variable. That's pretty interesting. No code for module fibers. Why? That doesn't make sense either. At any rate, let me just kill the server and make sure that things are good. Create a new session. Okay, so we've got a session. I'm assuming that's the right session that we saw there. Cool. So we got the events request coming in. Now, let's talk about how we want to associate a session with a character in the game. There's a couple thoughts I had. So let me go to the session code. So for a session will have an entity that it controls. Entities are controlled either by a session or by some kind of behavior logic. So an entity really is nothing special. An entity is just a character that can be controlled in the game. It can either be controlled by a player or by a behavior of some sort. So we will have to create an entity actor and then give it some behaviors to follow, which I think that Goblins gives us some ways to deal with that, which is good. And I think entity logic would be pretty interesting too, because there's kind of some state machine type dynamics you can create using the become function that is part of the actor initialization. You basically can just replace the function that gets executed whenever the actor gets invoked. So we'll take a look at that too. But first of all, how do I want to start this off? So for the player, let's think actually from a user experience standpoint. When you connect for the first time, you should be dropped into an initial room by yourself. Choose which class you want to play, like fighter, mage, thief, because we can't really do, you want to call it fighter or warrior? Yeah, maybe warrior, I don't know. 3 is enough. I don't think we're going to be able to do much in terms of the game behavior for more than 3. Probably not even for 3, but we'll give it a shot. Choose which class you want to play, and then proceed forward, or possibly to a tutorial room. And which means that we need to be able to spawn special rooms just for a single player, just so that the player could be there without having to run into somebody and get smacked with a sword or something. I don't know, spell, get turned into a frog. I don't know if these are going to be features in the game. We're just sort of spitballing ideas here. So that's sort of what I'm thinking right now. So the session needs to have an entity that is being controlled. And then whenever we type in handle, or when we send a message to handle command, we're going to have to parse the command and then turn it into an event that gets sent to the entity. So that's the next thing, which means that we kind of need an API for entities. So entities will need some kind of message-based control interface for common actions, like moving, moving, picking up items, etc. So that should be pretty fun. Let me go ahead and just create an entity module. Let's see, Goblin Mud entity. So we're going to use module goblins at least. We'll stick with that for now. We'll also go back to, I'm just going to steal this define actor here. All right, so now, so entity, bcom ID, this entity, we don't need really an entity ID because the actual instance of the entity itself will be what we're paying attention to. No more session ID, no more pending events, no more of that. All right, so for methods, we could say move direction. And then we can just log that for now. So log info. Let me also pull in, come on now. Use module web frame logger. And log info entity moving. All right. So then we'll need a name. Okay, so name. What other things do we need for an entity? Obviously, description. Let's see, what else? Inventory. Now, for behaviors, are we back? I think my internet just dropped out suddenly. I have no idea why. I think we're back. Sorry about that. That was really weird. Red 8 says panic basket. That must be an emote from Twitch. Yeah, the internet just dropped. I don't know, man. Like, the internet here has been super unreliable lately. Every couple days I get like a drop or two. And it's starting to irritate me a little bit because, you know, I'm the kind of person who likes to have internet, you know, that works, especially when I'm trying to conduct a stream. All right, so we're back. Let me just get back to it. So what I was saying is that we're trying to define an entity actor at this point, something that can have some behavior around the world. I'm thinking that we need to have a set of behaviors, and something in the Goblins documentation caught my eye once with, where is it? Methods. There we go, right there, methods. So, extend methods. Syntax to expand a collection of methods or an actor extends name, args, and expression are as in methods. So basically, you can extend the a set of methods that are given to you. And I'm assuming this is kind of like being able to do mixins. If you've ever heard of mixins before, a mixin is basically where you have multiple sources of behavior and you're combining them together to be able to compose something more elaborate. So we might be able to mix together the behaviors of a player style entity plus other behaviors that might be relevant, like, you know, being able to take damage, etc. So kind of an entity component model type situation, maybe, I don't know. But we have to have some state attached to that. So it might be interesting to think about how we would approach it. Syntax to expand a collection of methods or an actor extends name, args, expression, or methods. Allow extending the previous example with a method to ask how the caller is. So define hello, goodbye, how are you? Extend methods hello, goodbye. Let's see, hello, goodbye, how are you? Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye is an actor. So we're extending the actor with additional methods in this case. The result is not a reference to an actor, but rather a procedure which invokes the original actor. Extend methods can also be used to extend methods directly. Okay, that's exactly what I want. I don't want to extend an actor. I want to extend methods. So we've defined a series of methods here under the BHS, which are reusable. And then we can extend those to add another one, and then we can create an actor using that. So that's exactly the kind of thing that I want to do. Entities will have maybe some very basic common behaviors, but then it will have to extend other ones. So, for example, define entity, let's see, movement behavior. That could be methods. And we can just drop that here, right? I wonder if you could put multiple, or do you actually have to just kind of nest them all? One problem with this is that you end up with procedures that call procedures. It would be nice if you could compose them without having to have nested procedures, but it's not the worst thing in the world if you don't overdo it, I guess. But for the purpose of this game, maybe it's not really a big deal. Maybe we don't care too much about it for now. Let's see. I mean, every entity needs to move, so maybe movement behavior is kind of a stupid thing to put there. Let's just put that back. Let's just leave it simple for now. All right, so entity moving, entity name, moving direction. All right, so that's our first real thing. What else do we need for an entity, at least for now? Do we want to say, speak? This all needs to be sent back as messages to the room, though. So one thing we're going to have to do eventually, actually probably should do that. They must have a room they're starting off in so they can move around. So there we go. Room, behaviors, inventory, entity says whatever, message. So those are two basic things. That's kind of useful for now. And then later we could do something where we could have a behavior that causes an entity to wander around between rooms. So this is a good starting point to just kind of get everything working the way it's supposed to. There could also be like a take message for taking items. Let's see. All right, so log info entity takes. Okay, there we go. That's enough for now. That's enough. I think if we got that implemented in this stream with everything else, it'd be pretty good. Okay, so name, description, room, behaviors, inventory. Let's take behaviors off for now. Inventory, we might not need to actually initialize the inventory. However, I might change my mind on that. It depends on if we use persistence. If we have persistence, then we're going to need to be able to save the inventory if we allow reloading characters, which we might not. So maybe we'll take inventory out for now. No, actually, I changed my mind because a character of a certain class might have to have initial inventory, and we would have to assign that whenever we create it. Okay, so here we go. Actually, okay, another thought. What do we do about classes? How do we define a class for an entity? I mean, if you think about it, the way that it describes extend methods here is interesting. Not just to extend the methods, but also to wrap an actor with extra state and behaviors or methods. So it could be a way to add class-specific behavior on top. And we'll look into it. We'll look into it. All right, so this is a way to have an entity for now. Define public make entity. I had created a procedure in engine, so I should probably pull that in. Use module goblin mud engine called engine spawn to spawn in the context of the engine. So we're going to spawn an instance of entity, and we're going to pull in name, description, room, inventory. Should I make those keyword parameters? I don't know. Maybe not. Name, description, room, inventory. Because you kind of need all of them anyway. The only thing it really do is make it more readable. So we've got that. So now we should be able to make an entity. So let's think. When we create a new session for the player, what should happen? So if I go back to session, So we go sessions. Sessions is the way that we create new sessions. So here, we create a new session, create an associated entity, and place it in the starting room. I think it probably needs to happen here. We need to, create or set up the character where the character needs to be. Let's see, create an associated entity and place it in the starting room. So how would we do that? So in this case, we would... Now, we also need to think a little bit about the... Actually, let's not do it here. This seems like it doesn't belong here. Create a session, we hand it back. So who is asking for the session in this case? It's here in routes. I think this event handling code and what happens should not be here, but we're just going to leave it here for now. So unless session, set session, make session. We should also do the initialization of the entity here, I think, because this is where the actual logic of the game is. Better to do it here. So we're going to make the entity. Now, at first, we won't know what the name of the entity is going to be. Should we even do that yet? So let me just think this through for a second. When the player connects and the session is established, should they have an entity when we don't know? Maybe we can just convert it into another type of entity. Maybe there could be a starter entity. Maybe I'm trying to over-design this a little bit. Should they have an entity when we don't yet know their character details? Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter. How about this? Let's just go with it. Let's just get something working, and if we don't like it, we can fix it. Better to do it that way. All right, so we're going to create an entity, anonymous, a faceless being. I don't know. Room. Let's see. We have in world. All right, so we got a world here. We got the starting room. Probably need to set it. Starting room. Okay, so we're putting them in the starting room, and the inventory is going to be empty to start with. Let me see. Yeah, so description, room, inventory. Now, we've put the entity in the room. And we need to attach that to the session. So how are we going to let the session know what entity it has control over? So push event, get events, control entity, set entity. Let's just be more specific. There we go. That's all we really need to do here. Is just set that, because what we're going to do next is handle player command, this session ID. So do we need the ID at all? I don't even know if we need the ID. So handle player command. Where did I have that? Handle player command. There it is. Actor ID command. I don't think we need the ID. I'm also thinking we might need a similar I don't want to have to send messages to actors to get metadata out, like name. It just seems like really inefficient to do that. Oh, is the live chat bot busted? Let me pull that back up again. All right, and let me reload it. There we go. Okay. So, I'm trying to regain my train of thought. So we had, yes, what I was saying is that I'm wondering if I should wrap the actor in a record to have the metadata accessible at hand. But if I do that, it's almost like the actor needs a copy of the record so that it has access to the information as well. I mean, how much overhead is it really to send messages to get certain pieces of information? And when would you need it? When would I need the name? So let's think about this for a moment. When the entity needs to say something, it has all of its information internally, and it can send events with that information. So whenever it needs to do something, it can send that information along with an event. So who would need to ask something? So like, yeah, if you're describing a room, you need to know who is present in the room. You need the information about each entity that's in the room, whether it's a character or an item. So to get the name off of everything, you would have to send messages to everything in the room synchronously to pull the names off. And that seems a little bit overkill, in my opinion. Let's see. Yeah, so the thought process here is we might need to have a record type to surface some metadata externally, but maybe it's only very specific stuff. So like, wow. So make entity name description. I mean, what else would you really need? Name description and actor. Maybe that's enough. And then with the record type, this part could just be metadata. I don't know. Details. Let's just stick to details. I don't know. That's a terrible name, but if you have a better suggestion, you can just let me know. Also, we didn't do that here either. So entity name here as well. Okay. So what else? Make entity in this case then needs to create an instance of the record type. So right here it would be, oh crap, yeah. I need to be able to set the entity after the fact. So we're not going to set actor right here. Chicken and egg problem. And then we're going to spawn with details, room, inventory. Then we're going to set entity actor. Let's do a let star on that maybe. All right. So that should make the entity, spawn the actor, excuse me, and then wire everything up. Then we have a record type that gives us the ability to pass it around and have access to all the details. And also, session now has access to the entity name. Probably we need a way, excuse me, to set the entity name. So set. Maybe the description too, unless we change out the entity details entirely, but I think that's risky. So maybe let's just do that too. Set entity description. All right, let's just go with that for now. Not perfect, but it's fine. Okay, so that's the basic entity. So back to routes, we create an entity, and then we need to send message sync to session to control entity. Let's see, session. That's it. So now we've got the session controlling a particular entity, and that entity is in a room. So what will we do next? Assign the entity to the session and send a message. Invoke. So it's almost like we need to send a look message on the character's behalf. So how would we do that? How would we do that? So that's another really important part of all this, is how do we route messages to make things happen? So for a session, we can handle command. There's no other way really to fake an event. So maybe we could do like a look command. So we'll do something real simple for now. So for handle player command, we can use match. All right, we're gonna use a little ICE9 match here. And for handle player command, what we're gonna do is first, actually we don't need to do that. We can just go straight into a match. So match and handle player command, actor. How about this session entity command? So match string split command. I think I need to move this too. This probably should be first. string split command, and we're going to split that on space. Do I have an active REPL at the moment? All right, that works. So we got that string split command space, and then we are going to, we probably should trim actually. String trim both on command, just to eat the white space around. And now look should hello to only Mercury. Only me Mercury. What game are you making? We're making a text-based MUD, but with a web-based interface. Big Edie says, just want to get your thoughts about the architectural choices of this game. I like the OO paradigm quite a bit. Seems natural to think in, but if I recall, you're a big proponent of the functional paradigm, so why OO over functional in some of these projects? This actually is more of a functional leaning approach because this is actually a function. It's not really an object per se, because what methods is returning here is a procedure, and this whole procedure can be replaced. I mean, you're kind of basically just making a big case lambda here in a way. Case lambda is a, well, it's a bit more than case lambda, but case lambda is a way to define a procedure that accepts multiple numbers of parameters. So which path it takes to execute the code depends on how many parameters you pass in. Also, it's kind of like using a match expression as well. So it's still functional in a sense. The way this is the way that Goblins works is much more functional than an object-oriented language, because you can kind of change out the procedure that gets invoked when messages are received. So you have a lot more flexible behavior. So for instance, on a given message, I could change out the entire set of methods that are being used here with another set of methods. So if you think about it in terms of like a state machine, you could have an object in the world or an entity in the world that has different states, like the state where they're alive, the state where they're quote unquote dead, the state where they're respawning, something like that. And each of those states could have its own set of methods that can be called, and you can switch between those methods just by calling the become procedure and just changing that out, as far as I know. So it gives you a lot more flexibility than a pure object-oriented framework. So I think it's interesting. We need to kind of like get a little bit more comfortable with it to experiment and understand more about what the implications are, but it's not pure OO in a sense. And I would prefer to keep it more of a functional approach. But at least for a game, sometimes a more object-oriented approach actually makes sense, because you kind of have certain behaviors that an object has in the game, and having them all sort of contained together can be useful. But that's my answer for now. I need to learn a bit more about how to design things with goblins before I have a better answer, let's say. All right, so look. What do we want to do when the player types look? You're welcome, Big Edie. What do we want to do when the player types look? So what is a chain of events? Let me actually just close out these expressions here, and then I can go in here and do this. What happens? So at this point, we send a message to the entity to look. Entity sends a message to the room to describe for me. Room sends a message, an event, let's say, an event to the entity's session describing itself. I think that's sort of what needs to happen, okay? So if we go back to entity, we can say look direction, because maybe you would want to look in a different direction. Direction could be false though, it could be optional. So log info entity is looking. Actually, we don't want to do that right now. Let's actually just write the actual logic here. So the room itself, maybe the room we don't need to have metadata. So for room, where did I do the room? In engine. Okay, that doesn't need to be here. Engine vat spawn room. Where is room being defined? Make room. So room.scm. Define module. Goblin mud room. Use module goblins. And we're also going to export whenever we move it over, make room. We're also going to use module. My fingers are not really cooperating very well today. Goblin mud engine. All right, so let's pull make room. And we need to switch this to use engine spawn instead. So engine spawn. And that should take care of it. So now we're spawning with respect to the engine. See you, Big Edie. Spawning a room with respect to the engine. Now this is all engine stuff, which is good. And in room, we need to have a describe. Let's see. So who needs to have the room described to them? A non-player entity does not need to have the room described. So we're assuming that whoever's asking is a session. We want to describe the room to a given session. And then we want to send a message to session. So does room need to have access to session? Does session need to have access to room? Maybe session doesn't touch room at all. So we're trying to make sure we're not tying things up too much, or having cross-module dependencies, let's say. So describe session, send message sync. Maybe I don't even need the session module. Send message sync session. Oh, right, that's one we need. Do I need that? Session actor. Push event. Maybe I need a helper function for this. Let's just implement it first, and then we'll make helpers for everything else. So we're sending a message, push event, div. We're just going to put straight up HTML in here, okay? ID. So we're going to make this be an H3, which has the name of the room. And a div that has the description. How about that? So that's what we're doing. We can push a message to the session. Let me make sure the session has session actor exposed. Session actor, okay. So for look, let's just go back to what we were saying before. For look, send a message to the entity to look. And what did I say? Look direction. Should this all be sync or does it even matter? Let's just save that stuff. We don't really need it now. So we got look. So we send a message synchronously to entity actor. We kind of want it to come back, don't we? Only Me Mercury says, do you have any tips for someone who wants to start making their first game? Start small. Just have a simple idea like Pong. Something real simple. Could even be simpler than Pong because Pong has a bit of physics to it. Something real simple. Even a card game could be pretty simple. And use the simplest possible tools that you could use. Like, let's say, Lua and Love 2D. Or some other really simple thing. Even like, you know, there's Phaser for JavaScript. A real program using Vim. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm using Emacs. So Phaser is a pretty easy game library. I basically just use the easiest stuff possible to actually make it so that you can build a game, okay? Don't try to overdo it. That's what I can say. So send message sync, then we're going to entity feels VI. Well, it's because it's just text, but it's Emacs, I'm telling you. So look direction, we need to send a message to the room. So send message sync to the room to describe itself. So unless, okay, if direction, should I just have it be, have it take a, describe session direction. I don't know, whatever. And this is gonna be, ooh. So the entity needs to know the session unless we pass that in as a parameter. Yeah, because each entity needs to know where to pass things back. So when we create the entity from before, we do know what the session is. We could give it a session. But it feels like we're kind of tying things up together in a way that they shouldn't be tied up together. But the truth is, the look procedure or the look method is only relevant to a player entity. So it's almost like we need to wrap the entity with logic that is specific for player. Also, And does entity need room too? It might. How about we just not do that? So send message sync entity. Damn. Okay, so, ooh, there's another thing too. Back in routes, we need to send a message to the starting room. Entity enter, I think it was. Okay. So describe for this entity. No. Details, yeah. There we go. So look in a direction, sends a message to the room to describe. And then I think the room should actually send that message asynchronously. The event. Let's do it that way. Don't care when it comes back. We're just sort of throwing it away. All right, so room, describe for entity directions, send message to the entity actor to push. No, that's not right. Let me think about this for a second. Could be. Display event. Then back in entity, we're going to make a different kind of entity. So define public, make player entity, name, description, room inventory. So what this really is going to do, and I've forgotten to put a parenthesis right here. So this is going to let entity, make entity, name, description, room inventory. Okay. We're creating an entity. Then we're going to extend methods, right? Extend methods, entity. And we're going to put the what is it? Methods, display event. And then when we do that, we're going to send a message to the session. All right, so session, actor, session, what was it? Push, event. There you go. So now we're sort of like passing through. We're not really making a new actor per se, but we are wrapping it. And we need to... Let's do this. This may be completely bonkers, but let's just go with it for now. Okay. Let's drop this down to another line so that we can tighten up the indentation a little bit. So we got the wrapper, then we want to set entity. I hope this works the way I think it will. Set entity actor, because we haven't run the code yet at all. Entity wrapper. So make player entity, we're going to go back to routes. We're going to put this as make player entity. Session. In fact, we can take this out entirely. Session, actor, session, control, entity, entity. Not entity, we want the wrapper to be the one being controlled. Set entity actor, entity wrapper. Let's move this up one. There we go. Okay, send message sync session actor session control entity wrapper. Boom. So that should make us a wrapper that works. Send message sync starting room entity. Phew. All right, that's a mess. Not the greatest. I'm not necessarily thrilled about what I'm seeing here, but that's what we've got for now. Probably should try to run it. It's going to crash and burn for sure. Let me just double check that I've got everything kind of tightened up. So we've got engine where we move some stuff out. Move the room stuff out of engine. That's good. Entity and room. On entity, we're exporting the record type information. Make entity, make player entity. Room is just the stuff moved from the other place. Describe for entity direction. We're calling describe for on room the details of the entity and the direction we want to look in. Okay. And then we're sending that back. We're sending a display event to the entity. Display event, send message sync, session actor, session, push event. That goes back to session, which has a push event method, which then gets that ready for the interface whenever it pulls. So we make the session, we create the player entity with a session, then we send a message to the room saying the player has entered, the entity has entered, okay? Honestly, maybe that's what's needed. Maybe I'm overcomplicating that. So in the room, we're saying an entity enters the room. Why not just describe the room at the moment? Nah, let's not do that right yet. We're going to need the same thing for both, though. That's true. So let me undo that. Or should I put it inside as a define? How about that? Define, describe room. I hate how it's indenting this wrong. It's starting to annoy me a little bit. Okay, so describe room. We're just gonna take this whole thing right here, delete it. I'm not gonna worry about this direction just yet. I'm gonna paste this in. Also close that off. On this, I'm gonna re-indent. Pull that back. Okay. So we got describe room for entity. Entity enter. When the entity enters, what we want to do is describe room for the entity. And we also want to notify everyone else. So to do Okay, that makes sense, right? But we're not going to do that just yet. Okay. So that should get it done. Let's go back and just restart the whole deal. All right, so we got some things missing here. Let me just kill that because we got some real problems. All right, so session, unbound variable entity actor. Does entity need session? Not yet. I'm starting to feel like I'm doing this all wrong, but we'll get there. So A-list delete in session, that's going to be coming from Surfy1. Let's go to session. In fact, let's go to, where was it first? Engine. Let's just take that Surfy1 out and put it over in session instead, because that's where it came from. Back into the compilation buffer. Make player entity, so routes. Need to pull in. Entity. And all right, let's see if this runs. Nope. Still the same problem. Unbound variable make player entity. Did I not export that? No, that's exported. Where are we? Unbound variable make room. In entity, we got some issues here. I think I got a syntax error somewhere. So actually, no. Engine. Yes, we need the actor lib method. So we're going to put that into entity. Also in room. Yep, that one needs it. And what else? Session. Session has it. Put it in entity, right? Okay. Let's try again. Still got some issues. Back in entity, define record type. Okay, fine. Oh. Surfy9 for record type. Unbound variable entity. That's why, because the syntax wasn't there. Okay, so stop that. Display event. Display event methods. Extend methods. Did I do that wrong? Extend methods. Possibly unbound variable, display event, display event. So for some reason, oh, right. I think this needs to not be here. Hello to Pixel Smurfy. Who is rating me right now? Is it you, Pixel Smurfy? All right, so unbound variable session actor in entity. Session actor, okay. Adam C. Eunice, well, thank you, Adam C. Eunice. I think I've seen Adam on Twitch. That's awesome, thank you. All right. So let's see. Session actor, we need to pull in session here. Does session need entity? Yes. So let me think about this. I don't want to have a bidirectional dependency between these modules. So line 42, session actor, player entity session. Do I need anything other than just the actor? I don't think so. What do I have in session? The ID? I don't really care about the ID. I just need a way to send events. So let's just do this. I'm going to get rid of this. We'll just have the session actor be baked directly in. And then we won't need to pull in that module anymore. Oh, and I need to fix that too on the other side. Over in routes. So make player entity. I will pull in session actor. And then we'll just indent this stuff a little bit. Actually, can I just drop this down one line? Whoops, why did I do that? All right, cool. Run it again. Unbound variable starting room. Where is that coming from? A little search here. Starting room. Routes. Did I not export that? I did export that. So, oh, okay. So I forgot to put in room here. Maybe that's why. Didn't really give me an error though, so I don't know what happened. Still unbound variable starting room. And it's definitely at that moment. There's two places. What is this? Starting room. Okay. Send message sync starting room. And that was in the foyer module. Define public starting room, make room. I go to room. Make room spawns an actor. Spawns an actor. Which we should have access to by this point. Because we've imported Goblin Mud World Foyer. Foyer, however you want to pronounce that. Does it have... Ah, no wonder. Okay, so we got an unexpected paren in room. So let's check parens. Yep. Need to delete that one right there. Okay. That explains it. Still unbound. Give me a break. Wrong type argument in position 1, expecting struck false. Which one would that be? Just one second. Just checking. Takes so long to load this page. Wow, got 111 people on Twitch right now. That's cool. Hello, everyone. In this channel, we really just poke around with weird Lisp stuff a lot. So if you like weird Lisp stuff and Scheme, you might like this channel. So definitely give a follow if you're interested in seeing more Scheme hacking on various things. And also Emacs, because I'm kind of obsessed with Emacs. Anyway, that's my spiel. So wrong type argument in position 1, expecting struct false. Where? It's in routes. Okay, that's good. So it doesn't say what line, but I'm creating something, and it's looking for a struct. It must be when I'm in that instantiating a record somewhere. Must be, but I'm not 100% certain. Compilation failed. Where could it be? So it could be in some of the session stuff that I added here. So in poll events, I'm making a session. I'm calling into make player entity, send message sync starting room. It's really not giving me any traceback here. Web frame middleware. Also, it can't resolve starting room for some strange reason. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because it's there. I've got it. I've got it imported correctly as far as I know. Can I just try to like write it out? Log info, starting room. Let's just do this the old-fashioned way. Starting room. I want to see if this actually has anything in it or if it's just false. Even that, huh? I can't even write it out. An unknown file. This is one problem with the with Guile, is that the stack traces can be quite inscrutable. Resolve variable, starting room, call with output string, directory goblin mud routes, context. Okay, so it's definitely in the handler. One of them. Goblin Mud World Foyer. There's gotta be something wrong here. Drama says, is Lisp still used in the real world? Well, I would say that Common Lisp and Scheme are not used quite so much, but Clojure is used a fair amount, I think, in industry. Like there's a lot of web, like software as a service type things that have been written in Clojure, you know, web applications. You can do quite a lot with Clojure. It's fun. It's not quite the same as Common Lisp or Scheme. It's got its own flavor, but it's a fun language, and it's definitely more functional programming oriented than I would say Common Lisp is. Scheme is pretty functional programming oriented, but it doesn't place an emphasis on the use of persistent data structures and immutable bindings and objects. You can do lots of mutation in Scheme. So I would say Clojure can be more pure functional than Scheme or Common Lisp, but they're all good. I would say that that Common Lisp is probably the most interactively codable version of Lisp in a REPL. I mean, obviously, you can do that with Clojure too, but it's not as good as Common Lisp. Scheme is okay. Depends on the Scheme implementation. The problem with Scheme is that there are so many implementations of Scheme, and they all have their own little quirks and they're quite inconsistent in what they provide, that you have to just pick like one good Scheme implementation, like Guile Scheme, and kind of run with that. So what's the problem here? Wrong type argument position 1. Something else must have happened, okay? Because this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Can I try to like clear the cache? I just delete all the stuff in the cache because something just doesn't feel right. If I go to the folder where the cache is, right about, whoa, that wasn't right. 3.0, oh, come on. Right about there. Okay, so go up one level, delete that. Just delete it. Bye. All right, restart. Oh, there we go. That's something. Unbound variable session. An entity. How about that? Entity, session. Yep. All right, so let's get rid of that. That might not have been the problem, but at least it exposed that we had some issue in here. Routes failed, same issue again. But that could be part of the problem. The thing that we just fixed. Nope, still starting room. Complaining. Am I sure that that's it? Starting room. Is that the only place where it's being used? It's in the routes. Just trying to think this through. So we've got session. We're pulling the session actor out to pass to make player entity. That is correct. We're passing starting room as a parameter there, but that shouldn't have caused any trouble for it. Send message sync is supposed to be sending something to an actor, which we're doing. This is an actor. Starting room is an actor, specifically. What if I just take that off for now? I mean, that's not really going to help, probably, but we'll just give no room to start with, whatever. I got to figure out what's going on with that. Okay, something else is happening now. Set entity actor, wrong type argument, local object entity. Set entity actor. Where is this happening? Is that happening in entity? Entity wrapper. So make player entity, make entity. Make entity. Set, oh, wow, okay. I didn't actually return the right thing here. So set entity actor. This needs to return the details. Okay, so that returns details. That might be part of the problem here. So then make entity is getting the struct back, or the record back, and then wrapping it correctly. Maybe that's what we were hitting. No matching pattern, and where is that? That's the problem with writing a whole bunch of code without actually running it yet, is that now you got to go through and figure out where everything's going wrong. Call with output string directory, make player entity. So we're inside of make player entity. We're to match error with args. No matching pattern entity. Okay, so extend methods. I'm extending, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we need to say entity actor, entity. That explains it. Let's go. All right, so that's working now. Let's go back to routes. I'm gonna pull starting room back in and see if this works. Restart. Still unbound variable. That is really stupid. I don't get it. Starting room, foyer. Define public starting room. Okay. One way to verify this would be to go into the REPL and try to load that up. There must be something wrong. Something is happening here. Wrong type argument in position 1. It must be here. So make room. What's happening with make room? In room. Calling engine spawn with room. Okay. That looks fine. We've exported make room. That's fine. Name, description, exits, items. Very strange. I don't know why just pulling that binding in would cause it to give me a struct initialization record. That doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, you know what? I think there's an issue here. The issue is that I'm initializing the room when the module gets loaded and not at a controlled time after the engine has already been initialized. So the, I don't even know if it can be initialized correctly in this case. But the thing that bothers me is that there's no error making it clear that this is happening. But I have an intuitive sense that the starting room is not initialized correctly. And it also kind of makes me wonder how I'm supposed to define rooms in code without having to have initializer methods on everything. By that I mean, like, I would need a procedure that could return the starting room and then like cache the output. Let me see. Guile futures. What do they call that? Futures. Wraparound expression whose computation may occur in parallel with the code of the calling thread. Not exactly. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. I want it to just be cached. And I also don't want it to be on a thread. It's like memoization in a way. Is there a Surfy for that? Yeah, that's one thing you could do. Let's see. One page per node. Procedure index memo. All memory. Let's see. Thunk. I mean, can you do the future thing without having it be on a thread? May occur in parallel. There's a make future thunk. Where are we up to? Okay, up. Anywho. We just need a way to initialize this on demand later. I mean, I can make this into a procedure right now and just call it. But then I would have to save the output so that when it gets called in the future, it gives the same room. And I don't really feel like writing a syntax for that right now. It would have to be done for any room that gets defined. But I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. So how could I make all the rooms then? I mean, I guess really the thing that would be needed. All of these would need to have their own sort of initialize methods somehow. I'm thinking of having all the game world's rooms in different modules. The alternative is to initialize a room to have the room metadata be separate from the actor, so that you can define the details of the room without actually having to create the actor until the time whenever the room is needed, and then the actor gets created and just gets populated with the information. So we can have it be sort of separate. But then how do we store the agents for given rooms? I guess a hash table, maybe? That could be okay. That's actually not terrible. I'm kind of okay with that. So, Guile hash table. So, where is this? Is this a Surfy thing? Surfy 13. String libraries, nope. Oh, ICE9 hash table, okay. You can go from a list to hash table, ref set, all right. And which one is the equals version? Plain hash functions use equal, hash q uses eq, hash v uses eqv, got it. So I think that since we're comparing objects, we probably only need EQ because it's object identity. So the hash Q functions will be the ones we need. So in that case, we can change the design of room to be slightly different. So the actor of a room can still be the way that it is right now. But instead, we might want to define record type, which means we need to pull in Surfy9. Oops, Surfy9. Okay. Find record type, room. And when we make the room, we're actually going to make it like this. So make room, name, description. Now for exits, yeah, exits fine. Exits. And then items, we could say. Now, the question is for items, are those going to start from prototypes and then we create actors for them? Maybe. Or maybe items don't have actors. Maybe items are just data that can be moved around. We'll think about that. Okay, so make room. Well, items have to have behaviors, which means they might be actors. That's okay. So make room, room question mark for the predicate procedure. Then name, room name, description, room description. Exits, room exits. Oops. Items, room, items. So we have a record type now. We probably need to export the rest of those. Room, room name, room description. Well, maybe we don't, but we'll just do it anyway. Room items. So we've got the room metadata. We could also make that kind of private and then change this so that we call make room name description exits items. Now, what does this do? This instead makes it so that when we define a room, we're actually not defining it in terms of an actor. We're defining it in terms of metadata. And then we might need to spawn a room. So we're going to have a hash table. So if I go to, what was it? ICE9 hash table. Then define live rooms. And that's going to be, let's see, how do we make hash table? Make hash table creates a hash table suitable for use for any set of functions. It's imperative that just one set is then used consistently. Got it. So make hash table. So we got a new hash table for all the rooms. We're going to key that with the record instance. And then we're going to have the actor be what comes out of the value. So define get live room for room. So let room or live, or let's say actor. And it's going to be a hash q ref live rooms room. So unless actor, we're going to set actor with engine spawn room. And then we're going to hash q set. Yeah, hash q set live rooms room actor. And then here we're just going to return actor. So that will give us the ability to create an actor on demand for a room that needs to be accessed. All right, so make room. Then back in routes, when we first ask for the room, we want to get the actor for the room. So in the let here, we'll do that. Oh, and I need to have the binding name. There we go. Also, yeah, we need to do this also. So we're going to send the message in. There we go. And then this merge signal is going to go after. Let's make sure that we're all good on parentheses. I think we're good. Okay, looks right. Unless session, I think that needs to be inside here. So unless session, and then the lambda, we're going to stay inside the lambda. I think we're still good here. Okay, there we go. All right, got it. So inside of room, I can just add a little log message here also. Say log info initializing room. And make sure that the logger is in here as well. Use module web frame logger. Okay. And then back to room itself, or the foyer. Okay, let's get rid of that. I think that's better. Hopefully that solves the problem we had. All right, so get live room is an unbound variable. I don't know why we still run into these weird things. Oh, go back to routes. And we also need to pull in room. Line 137. Oh, right there, ROM. Okay, that explains it. Wrong number of arguments to make player entity. Let's get rid of the false because that wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, now I think we're good. I hope. Wrong number of arguments to procedure at room 41. Okay, line 41. 41. get live room. Say what? Okay, I think spawn. Engine spawn. Okay, got it. Yeah. I need to just put this to be room. Room. Now, name and description. This needs to be room name. Room. And room description room. Okay. What else do we have? That's it. All right. Okay, so wrong type in argument position 1. Where are we in the code? All events. Engine line 20 something. Engine. Let's see. Wrong type in argument position 1, expecting struct. I think I must be trying to call a procedure somewhere by accident. All with that. Describe room. Okay, so let's go to describe room. Okay, define actor room. Define actor. So when we created the room for the live room, did I actually see initializing room anywhere? Ah, there it is. Initializing room, a cozy room twice because it created sessions twice. Okay, so we did actually initialize. Engine spawn room. Hash Q set. So probably unless actor. Okay, so now forget live room. Weird that it did that twice though. Am I using the wrong thing? Should it be hash v? Was I incorrect about that? Let's see. Okay, now there's only one, so that's better. But still, after we call get live room, we've got a room here. We make the player entity. When we call make player entity, do we do anything to the room? Doesn't look like it. But then we send a message to the room. Entity enter entity. Let's check. Entity enter entity. Okay. This is definitely when I'm sending a message to it. So I'm sending a message synchronously to room. That's happening in entity and send message sync. Sorry, engine. Yeah, right around here. It said line what? 20 something. Yeah, it didn't really tell me the whole line, did it? Didn't tell me. So with that into that, apply const actor args. Wrong type argument in position 1. Expecting struct. So it was expecting something that it didn't get. The question is, what did it get? What is it? So it's a room. It's an actor. So what's the problem? Send message sync room entity enter entity. How's it wrong? Man. Starting to get a little bit annoying, to be honest. All right, so syscaller dollar local object room entity enter. It's definitely inside of describe room. Describe room entity. Oh, is this the problem? Entity actor entity. Hold up. So what does it have? Describe for. We're getting to the point where we have describe for. Describe for details and direction. Does it matter? Should I just send the actor directly? Why is the actor not set? Ooh, wait. Okay, another stupid mistake on my part. Wrapper. Actually, no, not wrapper. Entity. Control entity wrapper. Okay, fine. I think that's probably the thing. We're not getting the right entity back. That makes sense. Okay, let's try this now. Okay, so it did get the cozy room. Where are we? Let's reload the page. Huh. Why did it hang? Why are you hanging? What's happening? Failed to reach. All right, that's interesting. So I'm somehow locking everything up. It seems that the whole process is getting deadlocked somehow. So create a new session. Initializing room. Maybe I shouldn't be sending synchronous messages for some of this stuff. So let's see, where am I doing things? In routes, when I start everything up, send message sync room entity enter. This could just be asynchronous. So how about that? Yeah, it's doing the same thing. Is it because I'm not waiting on something to come back? Let me check the Goblins docs. Asynchronous calls. NP, do we care? Because on this this handler, I don't want it to wait. I want it to leave. I want it to be finished. It never gets to sending back events. Like it just hangs here right at the part we send the message to the room. Now it should be should be an asynchronous message. Let's see, send message room, entity enter. Okay, so it has entered. And then the send message to the actor, then what? I mean, what the hell's going on? Must have done something else wrong inside of the handler. So let's see. For each event, send message sync get events. Is this where it's hanging? How about I change the way this works? If session otherwise the whole thing. All right, got a little bit of a syntax error here. Let's see, mix session, got it. Should have seen that. Also, I must have given an extra paren. Okay, there we go. Strange. Oh, this needs to go. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Yeah. It's still the same thing. It keeps getting hung. And then no further requests come through. How is this even possible? It really doesn't make any sense. So we send a message to the room. It doesn't make it here, so doesn't make it there. So send message to room. Go to engine. I'm gonna put this in P here because I kind of feel like, is it like blocking somehow? What the hell's going on? Still blocking. Didn't make a difference. Okay. Let's see. I think we're somehow tying up the event loop. Unless there's an error that's happening in there that we are not observing, and it's breaking it somehow. What if I just don't send this? Are you still throwing errors? Div feed. Okay, so now we're getting events. All right, so we got a little error here. String term both. Wrong type argument in position 1. Let's see. All right, so, oh, handle player command. Handle player command. Yep, I got it in the wrong order. That makes sense. Got another error. Match, no matching pattern foo. That's fine. Okay. Handle player command. I'll have to do an actual better error for that. Okay. Just reload. I used look this time. Wrong type argument in position 1. All right, so entity received a look event. Send message sync to room. Describe for details direction. Handle player command. Local object session. Okay, is that right? Yeah, that's the command. Handle player command. That's wrong anyway. Same thing. Wrong type argument position 1 expecting struct. Entity may... Okay, so where is look being sent? Starting to lose it here. Oh, entity, actor, entity. So session. Controlled entity. Chuck says, Lisp Game Jam, where can I learn more? Go to itch.io. There is the Spring Lisp Game Jam 2025. That's the one we're doing right now. It started on Friday, and you get 10 days, so it's basically next Monday when it's over. It's fun. We're having a good time. I mean, right now I'm not having the best time because stuff's not working, but we're getting there. We'll see what happens. All right, so I want to see what entity is being held here. Where's my page? Let's just close that. I don't want to see that anymore. All right, so procedure, methods. That's not an actor. So maybe what I'm doing is incorrect. It said something about that in the module, or sorry, in the method documentation. So when extending a live reference, the result is not a reference to an actor, but rather a procedure which invokes the original actor. But you're supposed to be able to send a message to it the same way. Hello, goodbye, how are you? Spawn, hello, goodbye, how are you? Not the same, right here. Yes, and I've done it before. On my other channel, Flux Harmonic, I was using a scheme implementation, or sort of a scheme implementation that I wrote called Mesh, and did a couple game jams with that, which was interesting because half the time I ended up debugging issues in my own compiler in VM instead of writing the game. But that's the way it goes sometimes whenever you have your own Lisp. Part of the fun. So, hello goodbye is an instance of an actor here, and then we're using extend methods on hello goodbye. But we're not sending a message to it using the normal message sending. So what does that mean? Does that mean you actually have to spawn a new actor using that as the methods? Maybe that's what's going wrong here. It's kind of not described. Because sure, you can call the procedure directly, but it's not the same. Yeah, I think I'm doing this wrong. Over in entity. I think I might need to change the way I'm dealing with this. So, find entity methods, which is kind of a problem because I don't have access to the bindings here if I do that. Just trying to think of the right way to model this. Sorry, Trev. Yes, it was my microphone. The cable got pressed a little bit, so it put a little buzz in there. All right. We're going to have to end this in a second because my brain is turning to mush. But the thing that I'm realizing now is that what I did before here, so look, entity is an actor. Okay, so we define an actor called entity. It has a certain set of messages that it supports, right? No big deal there. I wanted to make a player entity which wraps that to add another message that it supports called display event that could send a message to the associated session to display it on the user's screen. Problem is that using extend methods on the actor itself does not create a new actor. It just creates a new procedure that responds to method messages. So now I'm trying to send messages to the actor that I think I have, but I don't actually have an actor. It's a procedure instead, so it's choking on that. So there's two paths. One is either to make the entity actor somehow extensible, or just to give it an optional session parameter that it just works around, which feels wrong to me from a modeling perspective, but maybe I'm just overthinking this a little bit. I kind of want to do it the right way, just to validate the approach of using goblins, like how do you use goblins correctly? And, I would like to do things in an idiomatic way, but we have limited time and we can't write perfect code because we don't have enough time. Like, we're almost done with the stream and I haven't actually fully completed what we set out to do for the day. So I'm having to balance that out right now live. To do this in a way that would be extensible, entity would need to accept a parameter for the methods that it exposes, and then we could customize that when we spawn the entity. But then you wouldn't have the state. Idiomatic and idiotic are close enough, says Trev. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. A lot of this is idiotic so far because I don't know what I'm doing. All right, you know what? Let me just save myself some trouble here. We're gonna do it just session for now. Let's see, engine spawn, entity, details, session. Okay, and that could be false. Doesn't have to be true. Whoops. So let's delete that. We're just gonna drop it in right here. And then details room. Wait a second, hold on. Yeah, okay. So session. Now, we need to have the display event message that we support. I'm gonna drop that right there, and then I'm not gonna do anything unless there is a session attached. All right, maybe that's fine. We're gonna get rid of make player entity. Anything else needed here? Yeah, okay, that's fine. And then go back to routes, make player entity. We're just gonna make that an entity. And then we're gonna rearrange the params a little bit. Right here, right here, right here. Paste that in, okay. And we just clean that up a little bit, that's fine. Session, make session. We got the room. We got the session being passed in. The session actor being passed in. Send message room, entity, enter, entity. Let's leave that off for now. All right. Restart. Unbound variable make room where? Where is it unbound? Okay, got it. Entity, we are missing a paren somewhere. So check parens. Entity methods, let's get rid of that. Okay, fine. All right, so session actor. Where was that? An entity session actor. Oh, right. Session. You want to call that session actor to distinguish it from a session record? Unbound variable session. Session. Yeah. Ator. No complaints this time. Still fails. All right, so in the same place too, it seems. So in session, controlled entity, what is it? It's false. Why? Did I miss something? Yes, I did. Let me just undo a whole bunch of junk here. There we go, right there. We need that. Now let's go redo a bunch of junk. Perfection. There we go. I think that's the right place. Drop that in there. So when session. Session actor. Session actor. Make sure our naming is consistent. Okay. We need to let it know that it's controlling something. That way everything comes through. Wrapper. Details. I hate it when it does that. All right. Kill it. So I press enter and it didn't clear things out, which is interesting. So controlled entity, entity named anonymous. All right, so that's okay. Controlled entity, handle player command, controlled entity, handle player command, send message sync, entity actor, that's correct, look false. Did it seem like it completely hanged that up? And what happened just now? Handle command. Oh, is it still trying to send that? Is that what happened? Oh God, okay, let's not do that. In views, we also want to not retry, okay? Retry, max count, 0. Let me change that one too. I think. I don't see it actually sending anything, but actually I also see it getting hanged. What a mess. All right, this is really just turning out to be a total disaster. Super complex, not really working the way it's supposed to. I'm gonna have to debug this some before the next stream, I think. I'm gonna have to call it right here and really kind of think about what's happening, because as it stands, I think that I've got a big ball of mud where I'm trying to do a bunch of things, sending messages between actors, and it's just something is getting stuck in there. And I need to find the right way to handle all this. Like, I don't want to be sending asynchronous messages between everything because I don't know if that's the right approach to take, but that is definitely the way to keep it from getting stuck. Yes, thank you very much, Check94. So we'll be back here on Wednesday morning around the same time. We'll be here continuing on the project. Probably I'll have made some progress by then to fix some stuff up, and we can kind of continue making progress on game logic. I might try to get a little bit ahead just so that we don't have to spend time debugging issues the whole stream. We can just work on some game code and have fun. But hopefully this was somewhat interesting and informative, and not completely frustrating. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate those of you who joined on the raid from Adam C. Eunice. Appreciate that very much. Definitely follow the channel if you want to be notified when we go live the next time. Usually we stream a few times a week doing cool stuff. So thanks again for being here, and until next time, happy hacking. See ya.